So welcome back to our series, and you will know the name of the podcast very soon because by then we will have branded the show. But today we're very excited to have uh, a very established scientist, Dr. Vinod Sommandas, who joins us from Netherlands. And his passion and interest, I think he's going to share with us as well. But what brought me really alive to do this discussion today is our chat that we had after meeting him on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, where we really connected on things that are very critical to our everyday, which is stress, well-being, mindfulness, and yoga. And so we decided that this could be a three-part podcast. And today we're recording the first of those three parts. And through this interview, through this conversation, to all of you listening, I hope you're able to find a different perspective on stress, something that we have really strived to bring out in this podcast, but also that you're able to apply some of the tools that will be discussed in the next hour or so. So buckle your seatbelts, like I would say, and let's begin with our first question to Dr. Vinod. Dr. Vinod, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Avantiji.
And I took the stage for 2 minutes now, but I want you to start us off telling us a little bit about you and the company that you've now established. Please.
Thank you. I will introduce myself. So my name is Dr. Vinod Sommandas. I was born in a former colony of the Netherlands in South America, Suriname. And then I moved at a young age to the Netherlands. So I grew up in the Netherlands. I'm also a Dutch native speaker. And I studied here at Leiden University. I did medical biology. And then I did a PhD in immunology. I was started at childhood. I already knew that I wanted to become a scientist. At a young age, I was always investigating things and interested in scientific knowledge like astronomy and also ancient cultures. So that's also where I'm now. I'm combining like Western science with the ancient culture knowledge like Ayurveda, yoga, and also healing. So already at the young age, actually, the ingredients were there and now I bring them together. So that's quite beautiful that I can now do this. And my main aim always, also when I was young, that I wanted to contribute to society and help people, especially with the health, because when the health is good, then you can achieve your goals and be happy, healthy, and love people and share all your interesting things with other people. And I think then you're at your prime and at your best. So I think health is the key to being a happy and healthy person. So that I'm happy that I'm at this point and that I can share my knowledge and experience with other people. So that's my mission, to help people achieve like a physical health, psychological good health, but also spiritual. Because when you want to grow spiritually, you need a good physical and psychological health. So that's quite important. So then I won't go too much into my scientific background. I did research on infectious diseases, also on cancer, and I started actually my PhD on autoimmunity. So I have broad knowledge of health and also different diseases and also vaccinations and therapy. So that is now helping me to help people because I can dive deeply into different types of therapies, and also I have a strong intuition. So it's a combination of scientific knowledge with the intuition, and in this way I can help people in a profound way.
That is a powerful start. Yes.
Yes, thanks a lot. My intuition was telling me many times that I should start something for myself, like an own company, and I thought intuition is pure knowledge, so it's not cognitive, so I should follow this. And I think intuition is always right if you have really pure intuition. So then I started my company in 2015 already with Wellbeing PhD, and it's a personal development consultancy to improve your daily psychological and physical well-being. And thereby you combine the Western medical science with Indian philosophy of Vedanta, Himalayan yoga meditation tradition. And in this way, we have quite a unique package. And later on, I also discovered I could do healings, and that's why I started also being initiated into the Shambhala multidimensional healing. It's quite comparable to Reiki, and it's quite a strong system. So in this way, you can combine like the Western medical science with the ancient knowledge, and it has been proven already for many thousand years. This yoga, which I'm doing, also sharing, is more than 5,000 years old. The same for Ayurveda. It's already been proven in practice, and nowadays also a lot of scientific data is coming out on yoga. There's hundreds of publications on yoga, so it is not something floaty, but it's really also there's a lot of scientific data backing up that it is really having profound effects on the health. So that's quite beautiful to see.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for that. I think it's brought us to a very good point. I think when we talk about serious diseases like cancer and autoimmune conditions, a lot of the fingers are pointed out to how it shows up. I mean, there's repeated stress that our bodies go through every single day. And while it is now quite common to say, oh my God, I had the busiest day. Oh my God, it is so stressful to be around kids. Oh my God, it's so difficult and stressful to be at my work. So it's kind of quite pop culture-ish to use the word stress in the way we speak about it. But I think it's for real now, where it's seen that our stress levels have actually increased over the last 8 to 10 years already. The levels of disease in the form of cancer again and autoimmune conditions have risen dramatically in America alone. And I think what we need then is a business case, I think, for why we should take stress so seriously and start doing something about it, more than just talking about it. So what is the business case, Vinodji, to further and action this case of stress?
Yeah, if you look at scientific data, I think this is a very good question. If you look at I go more into the stress. What is the stress? I think that fits with this question of you, because stress is it can be there are different definitions in scientific literature. You can see it like it's a response to danger. So our ancestors in prehistoric times developed this mechanism. You see like a bear, then this so-called fight-flight response is activated. This is the alarm phase. You can distinguish stress into three phases. There is the alarm phase, then there's the resistance phase, and then there's the fatigue phase. So when it's a short-lived stress response, then you have the acute phase and quickly it disappears, and then you can go back to normal functioning. But when it's extended, then you get the chronic phase, and then you get like fatigue, irritability, stomach ulcers, mental burnout.
Yes.
And also limits your thinking capacity, which is not very handy in daily practice. Of course, this is biologically very relevant, because when you see a bear, you don't want to think about 100 things. You want to see, oh, I have to run backwards or to the left, to the right. So from a biological perspective, it's quite logical that your thinking capacity is limited. But in daily functioning, it's not very handy when you have to perform well, or you have a deadline. But when there's a deadline, a lot of people are facing stress. So but I think next to the short-term effects, especially the long-term effects are quite detrimental, because it affects, it contributes to asthma, cancer. It also has effects on blood clotting and can lead to ovarian failure. Also, you get increased chance of heart diseases. You have higher blood pressure. It affects also the immune system. And also the learning capacity is diminished, and also your memory. decreases when you are facing stress. So this is only like a snapshot of the effects, but these are some of the main effects. So it's quite evident that it is really affecting the health of a person. It's also diminishing like your happiness at the time, and also that you want to be loved and share love with other people. So it has profound effects on the health and the well-being. So I think that is a big business case, that it is important, and a lot of diseases it is really a major contributing factor. So I think that's why it's one of the main problems in modern society, that stress is, everyone is facing stress, and it has quite a big impact. As you see in the youth of Netherlands also, that a lot of people, they are experiencing a lot of pressure and facing stress, and also eventually it can lead that people get depressed and also commit suicide. So you can see that it can have strong effects and really can be really detrimental.
Wow. And to be cognizant of this, I think we need tools to find out how stress is showing up in our body, isn't it? I mean, this is fascinating when you say that there could be so many diseases that could stem out of just poor cognition and poor working memory. And so it's my next question then would be, what would stress show up as in our body? Is it the same anxiety and nervousness, or can we be looking for other signs too?
There's a lot of signs, like for instance, indeed, anxiety is one of the main things. Also fatigue. You see, when you have a lot of stress, also the mind is really active, and so you are really mentally also tired, but also physically you're also tired. Because for instance, when you do meditation, when you do proper meditation, the mind is empty, then you're not consuming a lot of energy. But because of this stress, you're using a lot of energy and also nutrients in the body, so that's why you get the fatigue. And also long term, you get also depression. You see that in a lot of people when they have a lot of stress and also mental problems. So you get also depression. Of course, the famous mental burnout. This happens when you are reaching that last stage, like the exhaustion stage of stress. Yeah, so these are the main things you can see.
Thank you. And so I remember we spoke about the biology of stress. And
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, just detail out to us what that entails inside the body. What would it look like?
Yeah, so as I told about the stress response, they also call it the fight-flight response. And the fight-flight response is activated, and this prepares you that you can run away. So heart beat goes up, breathing goes up, but it's mostly in the chest.
Right.
So that induces also production of the famous stress hormone cortisol. And cortisol that is produced, and that has an important function because it releases glucose, and that prepares the muscles, because the muscles need glucose, that you can run fast away from that dangerous bear. So that's why cortisol is important in the short term, but in long term it can have detrimental effects also. So this is like the direct effect. So one of the main pathways which is involved in the stress response is the so-called HPA axis. So the H stands for hypothalamus, the P for pituitary, and the E for adrenal. So later on we'll add a nice slide and showing that. So the hypothalamus, when there's a stressor, that can be all kinds of uh, responses, like it could be a physical response, or like you have financial burden, or there could be life event like a loved one dies, or you're losing a job, you're ill. This can all be stressors, and these stressors induce production of hormones in the hypothalamus, like vasopressin, and also CRF, corticotrophin releasing factor. These activate then the production of adrenocorticotropic hormone in the anterior pituitary gland. This is released into the bloodstream and then leads to activation of the hormones, the cortisol, and also adrenaline and noradrenaline in the what's it, in the adrenal gland.
Yeah.
So, and the adrenaline and noradrenaline, they lead to the increase of the heart rate, for instance, and also that you are breathing strongly. So these are important. But the stress response is also, it's not only detrimental, but it is activated because it's a way to be in homeostasis, to keep yourself alive. So it's a beneficial response. But the problem in modern society is that people are facing this on a daily basis, this low level of chronic stress, and in the long term, this leads to a lot of different conditions and diseases.
Right. Thank you so much for elaborating so well. I mean, there's also something called the allostatic load that I have been doing research on, where it depends on how much stress that a body can take, especially if as children you've gone through traumatic experiences. The level of stress that your body can take through the years markedly diminishes and makes you reach a burnout even sooner than you'd expect. And I think since we're not listening to our bodies, it's very easy for us to be surprised when we reach this stage where we cannot function anymore. We're not able to continue with our routine lives, but also we feel a loss of confidence resulting in depression and other such mental illnesses. So absolutely. Thank you so much for elaborating on that.
Yeah. Thanks. I'd like to add to what you said, because I looked like what is determining the activity of this HPA axis, and that is also adding to what you are saying about allostatic shift. So the three factors which are important in this this vulnerability of stress response is like the first is genetic background. That's important. So there's different genes which are are modulating the response, the stress response. I won't go too much detail, but that has been described in literature. So that is quite important. And also early life environment, that is also one of the determining factors. And also the current life stress. So these are factors which will modulate like the threshold of the stress response when it's activated and how highly it's activated. So that's nice what you said, and this is adding to this. So these are factors which are important in how resilient you are as a person.
Wow, that is, and it's incredible that really we don't have so much control over what genetics we come up with,
Exactly.
that we're born with, or early childhood experiences, because that is not in our scope of control anymore.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do anything about it is in this adult life that we have as of now. So we have a shorter window out of the out of our lifespans.
Yes, but yeah, I can, when I speak about myself, about my personal experience, before I was also experiencing stress a lot because of the yoga practice, I started already doing yoga in 2009. Then I can see really that there's a big self-transformation occurring because of these practices. Because one of the main things in yoga, people mostly skip that actually, but it's purification of emotions and thought. So I think this is important, because when the mind is pure, it's stable, it's at peace, then the stress response, it's not occurring that often, or it's not affecting you that much. So I think that is important. You can really, by doing practices, it really changed that state, so that things which are like negative things which are occurring in your life, it won't affect you that much, or so it's not going that strongly and not increasing stress that much. So I think that's quite fascinating. So it's not only yoga, but for instance Qigong, and there are many strategies you can apply. And it could be simple things. You don't have to do the whole yoga practice, but you can take, for instance, only the breathing exercises
Yeah.
and do that and be conscious of your breath, even in a stressful situation that normally it goes up to the chest, but that directly increases cortisol. But when you bring it down to the belly, the diaphragmatic breathing directly, stress goes down very quickly. And that's what also the yogis discovered already a long time ago, that
Right.
like the breath is in between the body and the mind.
Right.
You cannot be angry and breathe slowly. That's impossible. But when you have like you're emotional, and when you modulate the breath by breathing slowly and deeply, then that mind will directly also be modulated, and that way you can calm it down. So that's one of the very powerful tools in yoga, that by breathing, controlling the breathing, doing different breathing exercises, then you can control the mind and also the body. So that's quite beautiful. That it's a simple thing, because the breath is always there. You can always use it. So
Yes, and I think I love that we're now jumping into, sort of solutioning how stress can be handled. And I think when we talk about, daily exercise or yoga or mindfulness practice, I think exercise now, there's proven research that is done, which says that there is serotonin released in our body when our muscles are
yeah,
exercised, when our muscles are stretched. Which is why it's a must do, and to have time aside for ourselves to do that bit of exercise. And of course, with mindfulness, we've, like you've said, the importance of breath, simply to help reinstate our HPA axis, just to bring us back to that stability,
yes.
that can help us make better decisions and remove us from that state of emotionally being held by our thoughts. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into, how, like, now that you've been in this field of yoga for so long, Vinodji, what is physiologically the method in which yoga directly supports stability of body and mind? Can you, from a scientific perspective, throw some light on how yoga and the movements, you've spoken about the breath work, but I mean the physical movements that a yogasana would entail. Tell us a little bit about how that would add to this stability.
That's a big field actually to talk about, but thanks for the question. So yeah, there are several aspects. Of course, there's the breath that will balance the body and the energy. So by doing exercise, we have like a series called joints and glands. By doing that, like the blockages of the energy flow are removed. So then the energy can flow better. So that's also that also the blood will be streaming better inside the body, and also the energy flow will be much better inside the body. So, and also there are different exercises. They, like you're twisting the body, then you're also massaging the internal organs, and then also the toxins are released, and there after that also the nutrients can get better to the body. Like also in one of the books of our tradition, Swami Rama, it's a very beautiful book I can recommend. It's called Holistic Health, and there it's already written, I think, in the 70s, but now it's become more like established. But already at that time, that knowledge was already written down. That first, before you want to nourish the body, you want to first cleanse it. And so there are different practices. Like I also do that. I'm already from a young age. I am suffering from allergy. It was like the whole year, but by doing this practice called Jal Neti Kriya, use a neti pot with salt water, and then you rinse it, the nose passage. And when I started that a few years ago, that already has diminished that allergy. So I almost don't need the medication like the antihistamine tablets.
Right. And
So
so this is more for the pollen allergy you're mentioning, right?
for the allergy, yeah, yeah, but it's also because when you rinse it, that diminishes that viruses on other particles can bind, so you get less ill of this. So that's a yogic practice which has been performed already for thousands of years. So it's a cheap method. Also, the medical doctors in the West also advise it when there's like problems with the sinuses and stuff. So that's quite beneficial. So, but that's nice that you have to cleanse the body, and then you can give nutrients to the body. This is the same with the breathing exercises. You have the breathing exercise called Kapalbhati. That's also cleansing, and you're removing carbon dioxide and adding more oxygen, and then the oxygen can better get inside the body.
Right. And wow, now this is like opening a new box of questions, isn't it? So then you have so many, and I know that we've spoken about this, but we have our third of the three-part series. We have one where we're only going to talk about yoga. So I want to keep some of these questions aside for that time. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to deep diving in this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yes, I could easily go into that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But thank you. Yes.
You're very welcome. Yeah. It has so many effects. There are like at least 240 studies showing the effects of yoga, because it's also, for instance, one nice example I will also reveal now. Like there's a hormone produced in the brain when you do meditation that is increasing the neuroplasticity in the brain, and it will also make more neurons in the brain. That simply by meditation. So that's quite beautiful. So that can help also in the functioning of the brain, also recovery of the brain and repair in the brain. So that's really nice.
Yeah, and I think like we said, it's the beauty is in learning how these have scientifically been proven, because that gives us that gives our doubting minds the examples of how these have been proven over and over, for the last couple of years now. I think there's, scientifically speaking, also quite a lot of interest in the
Exactly.
esoteric methods, which is fantastic. But also they don't demand that you do more. They just demand that you do less, but more effective things. You can do 3 yogasanas every day, but if you do them right, then they bring you a lot of benefit. So it doesn't have to add on to an already busy day, but it will only complement your day if you do it for long enough. Which is also quite similar to what I would say in a mindfulness practice, that you don't have to do it 2 hours every day like the yogis would do. I think they can do for much longer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you're just able to sit down every day for 15-20 minutes, that builds your resilience in the body for a longer life. And I think it's like sustenance, which will help your overall health and mental well-being. So
yeah, I think that this is correct. I think when you have a regular practice, it doesn't need to be like hours.
Right.
It's like you set like the ground for the whole day. So I always start in the morning with meditation, and you can do also. I think that is one of the strong practices inside our tradition that I would recommend to people as one of the things you can do. Is like only like before you start something new, that you have 2 minutes like breath awareness. You only follow the breath, like the inhalation and the exhalation. You close your eyes. You can do that anytime. Or you do that like 3 times a day. But in our tradition, whenever you start a new thing, then you start with just sitting for 2 minutes, only observing the breath, not changing it, but only observing. Then, like also when you have a stressful situation, it brings you quickly back to yourself. First, there's the body awareness. You can become aware of your body from head to toe. Then you bring your breath awareness. That's it. It's very simple. It's nothing complicated. Anyone can do it. So I think this is very simple. Anyone can apply. It's not complicated.
Yes. And I think these practices have probably been practiced in countries like India for thousands of years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I was growing up as a child that my grandmother would be very irritable if we were chit-chatting and talking when we were, sitting down to eat lunch. She would say, you must sit down, quieten down before you eat your lunch. And we never sort of made sense of it, Vinodji, because we were like, oh, they just don't like us chit-chatting or having fun, you know. But I think as we've grown now and we reflect back on how we have been sort of brought up, there shows a lot of wisdom in just coming back to our bodies and sort of being able to listen to how full you are before you know, overeat. And these practices would sort of help us eat better and manage
Yeah,
our routines a lot better.
yeah, nice to hear. Yeah.
Isn't it? So no, and I think this question actually is a very yeah, a very relevant question to this practice. I mean, also you have quite an interesting blend of scientific research experience and sort of the more esoteric Eastern spirituality based learning, isn't it? Um, so how did these come together for you, and what drew you to explore the connection between the two? Tell us a little bit about your journey, Vinodji.
Yes, I was always interested into science from a young age, but also some interesting things happened in my lifetime. So you also get like intuitive knowledge, and that can help you also. So I was always, although I'm thinking very logical as a scientist, but some things are outside our scope of like cognitive knowledge. So then I was, being from Indian background, these things already yeah, were given from my parents to myself. So then you're always thinking a bit outside of the box. They say that to the scientists, but a lot of scientists don't really think outside of the box. But I think these two worlds, they are not really, for me it's not colliding. For me it's one thing. It's not like, oh, they're like opposites, but I think the nice thing is that they can add to each other, because I think what's missing in the Western education is mostly directed towards outside things, like, oh, we can travel to the moon, we can make atom bombs, we can develop medication, but there's not a lot of like self-exploration or going inside, and that's you can find inside the Eastern traditions like Qigong, yoga. So there they are really going to the development inside, because we know a lot about things outside, but do we know ourselves?
Yes.
One of my yoga teachers also told me it's like yoga is like a manual for yourself. There's not a manual for you, but by doing yoga and these kind of body mind practices, you can really know yourself and go deeper inside yourself.
Yeah, and I hate to interrupt you, but I feel like we must answer this question. Why is it so important to know thyself? Everyone's talking about it. I think now the new age sort of self-help leadership, self-leadership gurus and authors talk about this, know yourself. But in your perspective, what is the advantage in just knowing yourself?
There, yeah, the first thing I'm thinking about is that when you know yourself, then you know what you want, and then you can also exploit your potential fully. And then you can grow. And when I know myself, then I know what I want. For me, it was quite simple, because I already got the cues, like what I find interesting. I want to be a scientist, and also what I'm doing now with the yoga. I'm just doing what is making me happy and joyful. Yeah? So I'm staying close to myself, and by being connected with with myself, then I can do the nice things. Because I don't want to do something every day which I don't like. Then I'm really putting a lot of stress. I'm not feeling happy. Uh, so I'm really trying to stay close to myself and to what I like, and in this way then you're authentic and people feel like I'm not acting and I'm doing really which I really enjoy, and then you can also share it in a nice way.
That's it. And I think it's the perfect antidote to social media FOMO, you know, that we miss out on so much, that we see people, you know, doing exotic holidays, having amazing relationships on Facebook, which then creates this stress and tension of things that we should have. But we don't know if they really serve us well. And so by knowing ourselves, I think, like you said, you can then not get distracted by what else the world offers you, because you are sure about what is it that motivates me? What is it that my focus is? And what do I want to bring into the world? Rather than saying, how much do I not have that the world has? And so it's really turning the lens inside out, which comes in by knowing ourselves and being aware of who we are as an individual. And I think this is not very clearly, I think, advertised these days, because advertisements for commercial sort of establishments are all based on having us think in a herd mentality, that we should, we have mirror neurons in our brains, and what that does is we want to copy the person or the situation that we're able to see. And what that physiologically does is we want what the other person has, unless we know already that we've tried this in the past, it doesn't work. And so we want something different from our experience. So it's being able to solidify what we want is what you're saying too, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's also one of the main things in yoga, santosha, so that you're content. When you're content, then you can really do nice things, and that everything comes from your own strength. But when I know myself, then I know what my worth is and my strength is and where I want to go. And then you're not distracted, because you're like directed to that thing what you want to achieve, and you're not looking, oh, that guy has a nicer car, or that's not really relevant, because will it make you happier? No, it won't. Because when you have a big car, maybe you want a bigger car. So this is never ending. Our senses are never satisfied. If you follow these urges and senses, that is endless, because when you have a Ferrari, then you want maybe a bigger Ferrari. So there is no end to that. That is never ending. It's always nice to have like goals, of course, but keep it realistic and go step by step. Not like when you're poor, you want to directly have a villa or like a private jet. That is not really achievable. That will even bring you more stress and make you more miserable. So that is not really helping.
That's it. And I think you said it, that the antidote to stress is knowing ourselves and to become indistractable, that we know inertly what is going to make us happy. And that is so beautiful that you bring in the word santosha here. I think it's we can talk a whole hour
Yes,
on this.
indeed.
Cool
In the
stuff.
yoga, maybe we go more into, in the yoga session, we can go more into this, the different practices like yamas and niyamas, like personal discipline and moral codes, and also, yeah, these are, I think, these things are really key also to happy life. Like when you purify your emotions and thoughts, because there's lots of them stored from all the experiences we have. When you are working with that, it's an ongoing process to purify this. But when you are working on that, then you will really change as a person, and it can really give big benefits in daily life and in work life. So
That is so amazing. This discussion with you, Vinod, is I'm really enjoying it, and I just want to make sure we have time enough to have go through the questions that we have.
yeah, sure.
Let's yeah, no, but I think so bringing you back to the question that we had about the intersection of science and sort of the esoteric experiences. Is there anything more you would like to add on? I know I spoke in between, but
Yeah, no, thanks. That's I would like to add that looking at the Western science is mostly focused on like the physical part. But when you look at the Eastern philosophies, the beautiful thing is that their approach is quite different. They go deeper also into like energy. Like for instance, the mind is something also which is, there are different opinions in the Western science compared to the Eastern science. So in the Western science, some say that the mind is physical, but in Eastern science, it's a bit different, on a different level. And for instance, when you look at yoga, they say that when you look at the bird, they say first there was the energy, and then there is the physical body. And in the Western science, they say there was first the physical body, and later then comes the mind. So that these are different opinions. But in the Eastern philosophy, they also work with when there's a physical problem, there must be something underlying. Like for instance, when the energy is not flowing in the right way, then you get physical problems. So also in yoga practices, you can see that first we start with physical exercises like the asanas, but they go deeper, because when you go to the relaxation, the pratyahara practices, they go beyond the physical body. You start to work with the energy body. You can start feeling the energy inside the body. And when, for instance, we have like a practice called 61 point relaxation.
Okay.
Then you are scanning the 61 points in the body. And when, for instance, on one point, you feel that the energy is not that good, then you can start working on that point and then bringing more energy or releasing the blockages there. So that is working on the subtler level. So that is nice that it is adding to that Western medical science. So it has a different approach, but and the same with the healing, it's working with the energy inside the body. So these things are, they can help. For instance, that when there is one issue, you can approach it in different ways. And that's what I like, what I'm doing, that you can look first, what, for instance, is there something wrong with the lifestyle, something with the nutrition? That's also important. Is there a deficiency in vitamins, for instance, or in minerals? That's also important. But then you can also work from the energy part, giving healings or working with the yoga. Yoga is also healing. So you can work from different approaches and make it more holistic.
And there is a lot of, I think there's a lot of talk about how the manifestation of illness in our body is actually beginning in our bodies long before that, because of the environment that we're in. And that's probably exactly what you're saying, right? I mean, that there is the energy blockages, which could be, which could be increasing this tendency to manifest as a physical illness.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think it's nice to see somebody like you, who is predominantly in the science background, but who is able to also appreciate the holistic nature of healing that these ancient practices bring to us. In these, I think we need to use a combination of tools to be able to manage our stress situations. I mean, it may not be one or the other. And I think we could go on until, a few years discussing which is better. But I think when we are bringing and looking at these tendencies together, I think we make a lot more movement ahead. And that's how we become conscious together, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. I think what's important, I'm also skeptical, of course, to new things, but I think the best thing is that you really experience it. The same with the yoga. By experiencing, you know what is the effect. It's empirical evidence. So same with the healing. When you see it as an effect, then you know it is true. So that is the important thing. I think even when people are giving it, be skeptical, but just feel it and see if it's true or not.
Right. Oh, that is fascinating. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I mean, we have a few minutes now, but I think what I would be excited as a listener, I think for the last hour or so, we've heard you speak about the power of yoga and, the energy body that we are. Can you give us a few tips, to, if you could name 5, for example, that would make our physical and mental well-being a lot easier to manage? What would your top tips be, Vinodji?
Yes, I have actually 6.
Okay, yes.
So I added one extra. I think regarding stress, I think the first thing which you have to be aware of, that you recognize the body signals of negative stress so that you can react in time. Because you are getting cues that something is wrong. You have pain or you have tension in the shoulders. And so when you see like there's a situation and then there is a reaction of the body. So you can, if you are become conscious of this, then you can see, okay, how can I change it? Should I avoid that situation, or how can I react to that same situation in a different way? Instead of a lot of people are reacting in a primal way, but if you just step back, breathe few seconds, and then let me think and how should I react to that situation. So you can change that, modulate that reaction to that same situation. I think that is the first tip I would like to give. And the second one, I talked about breath, but also when there's a stressful situation, stay with the breath. If it goes up, then you bring it consciously down. And this is like practice I will discuss more in the yoga session, that you are aware of the body, the breath and the body, and that you stay with this diaphragmatic breath. And then also the stress will be less or it won't even come. And then you can still think clearly. I think that is quite important. And then you can make a better decision also.
Yes, that is brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the third tip is relaxation. I found a nice paper that this relaxation practice, there are different ones. There's like the body scan. Everyone knows it, that you are relaxing the body from the head to the toe and back from the toe to the head. And that only that practice by itself is decreasing cortisol by 50%. So this is quite a significant decrease. So this is something you can just sit down and then relax the forehead, relax the face, relax the neck, etc. Then scan this, because when there is stress, then there is tension in the body. That's what I also do, like on a daily basis, the massage in the face, because these muscles also tense up.
Right.
So
And
this is something
the
you can,
here, yeah, the jaw is
the jaws, you can feel it, they tense up, but also like the here on the sides,
right.
this you can feel, but just by massaging them. So maybe I think in the yoga session, I will just show these massage exercises of the head. I think this is beautiful. People can also do this at home. It's quite nice. You can feel that the tension in the nerves also decreases. So it's very nice. So, and also in the neck.
That's, yeah, because also it's the part of the ANS, the automatic nervous system, which means it is taking a lot of our load every day. So it's it's an important organ or side of us that we should take care of.
I think that this is something you can really take, and also we do like neck exercises that also releases tension, because this is one of the points. Also exercise also releases tension, of course. So that's the next one. So by doing exercises, you lower the stress hormone. So do something which you like. That's better. Don't do exercise to, oh, I have to do exercise, but try to make all your chores. That's also what Swami Rama says. Make them enjoyable. Like when you do them with resentment, it becomes a different thing. But try to cultivate that atmosphere, attitude from, oh, this is chore is nice. So do something which is nice. To choose an exercise which you really enjoy makes it also nice.
Wow, that is bringing a good mindset to it, because if you reject the experience, you're creating this unnatural stress in your body. That's a fantastic way that you did. Also, the very famous Thich Nhat Hanh, the meditation teacher who passed away recently, he would say, right, wash a dish or wash a bowl, like you really are doing it. So
exactly, that's the same thing Swami Rama says. Every chore, if you make it nice, the stress already is low, and just enjoy it, and then it will change your attitude in life also.
That's amazing. Wow, thank you so much. Yes, so attitude. And you have, I think, one more.
I have two more.
You have two more. Let's do
it. So the next thing is, of course, concentration and meditation, because our mind is scattered, and then also our actions are scattered. So when you are focused, you're learning to focus, concentrate, because the first step towards meditation is learn to concentrate, because our mind is like 100 radios. And like when you switch, the radios get less and less. When you purify emotions and thoughts, then you can learn the mind that it can concentrate.
Yes.
And then after you can focus on one thing, then you can get rid of that concentration, and then you can go into meditation.
Absolutely. So you prepare your mind to meditate. And how long does that take, Dr. Vinod? I mean, how long should you concentrate? I mean, do you want to add something to it?
That's of course you have to learn, because most people are very cognitive. They're thinking 100 things. So it's not like, oh, I do 1 week of this training and it will come. So you have to train for many times and learn that, and then it will, and also purify your emotions and thoughts. And then because when you have a lot of problems and stress, it's difficult to concentrate, as we all know. But when you are getting rid of all this garbage, then you can start to concentrate. Then you can go into that meditative state, and life become much easier. There's not so much troubling you.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. Yes, and concentration and meditation, was it 2 points? So you have one more.
I joined them together because I see them as
Okay.
one thing. Yeah? So
Yes.
first you start with concentration, and then the next step, when you are feeling comfortable, then you go into meditation.
Yes.
So you can concentrate like on a mantra, like in our tradition. When you don't have a personal mantra, you can use Soham. That means I am that, or that am I. I will go more into that in the yoga session. But that's something beautiful you can apply on a daily basis.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think to be able to remember these tips, to be able to write them down somewhere that you see them every day. It could be in your kitchen, it could be on the whiteboard next to your workspace. But I think to be able to use them as and when needed can only come with practice over time. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like learning to brush our teeth twice.
exactly. Yes, this is true. You have to make it like a daily practice, and then it will become part of life, like indeed brushing your teeth, that you also do on a daily basis. So you can do that after brushing your teeth. You can use that, and you can also, for instance, use positive affirmation. That is directly what you're saying. That is also, I think, directly about this. So you can say, today I'm gonna make a great day out of this, or I'm gonna enjoy this day. So by saying these things, it will come into you, and you become conscious of this, that every challenge situation, I will face it in a positive way, open way, and then you can change it. So the last point I wanted to add as a tip is to do something fun.
Yes. Oh, yes. Let's not forget that.
So don't see everything like work, but do something you like. So go to the gym, go walk outside, go to the beach, go walk in the forest. What is nice for you? Just do something fun. Life is not torture. You should enjoy it. So you should do something fun, and that also automatically releases stress.
Yes, and don't sit at home when your friends are calling you out for, for a nice hike or an outing. It's nice to be out doing an activity and having some fun. That is so important. I think I'm glad you mentioned it at
Thanks.
the end. Maybe. Absolutely.
So just to close off, one of our yoga teachers, senior yoga teachers, said, so I think the quality of your life is highly dependent on the quality of your mind. So do you want to have a flower picking mind or a thorn picking mind? I like this quote. So this is really resonating. So when you start a day, do you want to be happy? So let's have a flower picking mind on a daily basis. Then life will be joyful, and you can do nice things and enjoy life in a profound way.
Still learn to be in the moment. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's profound. And then I think over a period of time, the stress is going to become more manageable, and you can see things in better perspective. Absolutely.
Yes.
So, Vinodji, I mean, as we come to the end of this, I can't finish before asking you, where can our listeners find you? How should they reach out to you and your offerings?
So yeah, I have, of course, LinkedIn, but I have a webpage, wellbeingphd.com. So I post there my events, and I also have different blogs like on health. I wrote a very beautiful blog, for instance, on olive oil. And that is help against aging, because when you have a lot of stress, for instance, coming back to the stress, that increases the process of aging. But I use on a daily basis, for instance, olive oil, because it has a lot of healthy properties. So I write on health, also on aging, on spirituality, on yoga. So there you can find different interesting tips and blogs on health and also on stress, for instance. But you can find me on wellbeingphd.com, and there, if you want to contact, you can contact. All the contact information is there. So
that is brilliant. And I just wanted to say, I think this was such a helpful 1 hour. I think from a mindfulness perspective, stress has been something that has been one of the reasons why I put Conscious Together, the company, which talks only about mindfulness. Also because we need to bring attention to our lives, to our situations. And so I think to have a perspective, to have a complementary idea from a scientific perspective, to then make this business case that we're hoping to make, both you and me. I hope our listeners can take as much value from this hour that we spent on this. But thank you so much for doing this together, Vinodji. I look forward to our next 2 sessions. One's going to be on mindfulness and breathing techniques, and the other is going to be on yoga. And you heard Dr. Vinod say here that we're going to talk about Santosha, Yama and the Niyamas, a little bit about the Soham that he has promised to mention there as well. So please join us back, come back, listen into these podcasts, and together, I hope we will be conscious together. Thank you very much.